Okay, Alana, hi, it's Jason. For everyone in the Melbourne Uni, and our supporters and sponsors, players, welcome to the first, or what's going to be a first of our many weekly interviews with coaches, players, committee, old boys, management, everyone, just so we can keep some content coming on the website and you get to actually know who's part of the club, because there's lots of things happening at the moment. Some challenging times for all. And try and get some focus back at home, play some rugby at the back end of the year, or let's definitely building into the off season and a big 2021 on the field. So first off the blocks, AT, Lans, many other things you get called. I can just say from my point of view, Alana, I didn't know you that well until you came to the club, and it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and working with you. I guess during COVID, I guess that's how we sort of met each other, I guess. Bit of off season, but then it's sort of been, the coaches have been meeting every Monday, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I know from speaking to the coaches how much they enjoy working with you, as well as the players obviously have a great opinion of you. And but also I think from just working with you, it makes an absolute pleasure to work with you as well. So the way it's going to go, we're going to roll here, Lance, pretty casual. I think we'll do 5 minutes, a bit about you, and then I've got 5 quick fire questions at the end, and we'll go from there. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
5 minutes, Lance. Tell us a bit of the Alana story.
Oh, the Alana story. Well, I'm a country kid from New South Wales, so don't hold that against me. I grew up in a little country town in northern New South Wales. We had a bit of a farm. Dad was a fireman, and basically played every sport. I love sport. Country towns, if you're not working on the farm, you're playing sport. So I played a lot of sport as a kid. And then did what some people do, take a gap year when I finished high school, ended up over in London, did my traveling around Kentucky tour, and then came back to start, being an adult, and ended up at Orange University, which was at the time Sydney University. It's now Charles Sturt, doing a Bachelor of Ag Commerce. And that's where I got introduced to rugby, absolutely, so started playing rugby there.
So how old were you then when you got introduced to it?
That would have been back in 2001, so I would have been 19.
Right.
So as a kid I played rugby league up until 12. Like most girls had played rugby league or rugby union, you played till you're 12 and then you had to stop. And basically got introduced to rugby, had never played it before, had watched it, but never played, and then started playing in 2002. I made a Central West rep team. 2003 made New South Wales country, and then 2005 was named in a wider Wallaroos training squad. Ended up going to the World Cup in 2006 and thought that was fantastic. Played through and a part of the squad with the Wallaroos up until 2010. I didn't make the 2010 World Cup squad, but was in the squad up until then, and then decided in 2011 I'd probably need to focus a little bit on a real career that would pay the bills and make sure I could have a roof over my head in the house. So ended up taking a job down here in Melbourne with the company I worked for. They were looking for a management accountant, came down here and continued to play a bit of club rugby, a bit of sevens. And then after a really bad concussion, decided I probably needed to stop playing, and the transition for me was getting to coaching. So that was my sort of rugby history. And then, as I said, played sport as a kid. I come from a family of 6 kids. I've got 3 older sisters, 2 older brothers. I'm the baby, so I'm the last one, and all of them have family. I've got 16 nieces and nephews. I've got 3 great nieces and 1 great nephew now, so we're a fairly big family, and we're spread out all over Australia. And I'm probably the sportiest of all of us. And everyone's, I'm really proud of what they've done. They're academia and nurses and police officers. And then I'm sort of the sporty sort of one that they sort of live through, being the youngster.
So when you played, what position were you?
I played fly half for the majority of my career, and then the last 2 years I was transitioned to fullback.
Which one did you enjoy more?
Fly half. Got your hands on the ball.
Yeah. How's your kicking?
Yeah, kicking goes all right. I was a goal kicker. So I spent many hours kicking over posts, but I love kicking. It was a way for me to go out and relax and enjoy myself, and it was fun. It wasn't a task for me. I just loved kicking. I did it back as a kid, kicking over the fence post at the farm with sand, getting the sand and piling the wet sand up and kicking over the fence post.
Yeah, good old days.
Yeah, or just dig a hole in the ground and kick it off the ground.
Yep.
You know, those sort of days.
What about, so when you finished playing, did you have a break between playing and coaching? Did you take a while to think about it? I know I did. I finished playing and I was a bit grumpy because I finished with lots of injuries and I needed a break, and then I got dragged back into the coaching, I guess, side of it. Did you go straight from one to the other?
Yeah, I went straight from one to the other. So the last year I was playing, when I got the bad concussion, I was sort of doing a bit of coaching with the back line at the club. And then as I sort of then knew I wasn't going to be able to play, I just went into coaching, and it was just pretty much a seamless transition. I sort of just took, instead of doing the drills, I was just coaching them. But if I was to look back at some of my video recordings of me coaching back then, I'd be shaking my head now going, what were you thinking?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a journey. First question I've got for you of my little program questions is, why are you at Melbourne Uni Rugby? What brought you here? How did you fall on our doorstep, which is fantastic for us?
Well, I'd probably had conversations probably 18 months before I actually said I'd do it. And then coming out of Super W 2020, I sort of wanted to get into coaching at a club level again, because as a coach, you need to be applying your trade. Yeah. And you know, that's where you test in club rugby. You can test out things and theories and the like. And so I got a very good, well-timed phone call from Sammy Homewood, who's there at Melbourne Uni, and then a phone call from yourself about would I be interested, and the opportunity was there to get into club coaching and also working with the players that you've got there. You've got the Uni A-on 7s players, and watching that first year and watching those players develop, I saw it as a really good opportunity to hopefully be able to work with them and also help them develop their game, because I've seen such growth in them in the first 12 months. And it was a really good setup. Everyone that you talked to in terms of players and supporters really raved about the support that Melbourne Uni gave their women's team, and it was a one club sort of mentality. It wasn't just the men's and the women. So that was something that I'm really big on, that, you know, you've got a women's team, you're a part of the team, you're a part of the club, and you all work together, and the women's teams are just on the same level as all the men's teams. So that was something that came across from everyone you spoke to. Great setup, great people, and a great one club mentality.
Oh, that's good to hear. Like I say, we're very fortunate to have you, and it is something that I guess Aon was so pivotal in doing, that it was a tough way for the girls to be initiated, to be honest. Like, they got thrown straight to the top level of rugby, and that's morphed itself and grown organically into this 15s and the 7s now, and some girls do both, and some girls have come down and played 15s and done a great job. So next question. Why does Alana coach? What's your why?
My why is just to give back to the sport, but also to help players develop. And it's whether it's a new player coming into the sport, just wanting to try a new sport, and giving them an opportunity to have fun and enjoy it and develop and grow. If it's a player that wants to go to another level, take their game to a new level, I want to help them on that journey. So for me, it's about giving back to the players and giving them an opportunity to grow, because at the end of the day, if you don't have an opportunity to play, then you can't test yourself to see what you are. So for me, it's all about the players, and it's all about giving back and hopefully creating opportunities for these players, so that, you know, when I'm well gone from this world, that these players are going and it's a part of normal society. It's not men's and women's. We're just all playing rugby. Everyone's playing, and people are giving back and helping bring the next group of players, coaches through, whether it's men or women, that they're bringing everyone together. So making sure there's a future for our sport.
Nice. And is there still a twins for you to coach with the Wallaroos?
Definitely. That's the ultimate for me, would be to coach at the Wallaroos. And it's something that I've sort of done at an Australian A level last year. But yeah, definitely coaching in the Australian setup is something that's a big goal of mine. I think that being an ex-player in that jersey and being able to then go and help that next generation at a World Cup or in a Test matches is something that I'd be really, really keen to do. But again, it's all about just getting better as a coach, and I'm still fairly young in my coaching journey, and still developing and growing as a coach. So that's the ultimate goal, and also ultimately just coaching and working as as a profession would be fantastic. You know, where I work at the moment, I'm surrounded by some of the best coaches in Australia, and they absolutely love it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, off topic. This crazy madness that we're going through. When lockdown does end, if it ends, where will be the first place, your favourite place in Melbourne? Where would you go for dinner if you could choose one to go out for dinner?
If I could choose to go for dinner, I'd probably go to a little Greek restaurant in Williamstown called Santorini. Really great Greek food. I love their squid, marinated squid. And then they've got seafood platter for two. Just all Greek infused food, just fantastic. It's right on the corner. It's a nice intimate little restaurant. Good food, good wine.
Well, if you're watching anyone from there, sponsorships just a phone call away. Thank you. Okay, you had 3 people to dinner. Any celebrities of any time? Good old question. Who would they be and why?
Well, one would be Liz Ellis, because I've just loved Liz Ellis, netballer, former Australian captain.
Netball.
Yep, now commentator. She finished the sport. So she finished the sport when she was when it went professional. So she was a lawyer. Just as they went professional, she walked away. She retired. She could have stayed on and got money, but she then set up the Players Association. She's just again a real passionate person, giving back to a sport. Sam Stosur. I'm a massive geek when it comes to tennis and Sam Stosur. I've watched Sam Stosur a whole career. Absolutely love her. And you know, we'll stick up for her when people say she hasn't done well at times. I'm just a big fan, so I just love to pick a brain about what it's like being a professional athlete traveling the world. And the third, I haven't really
historical.
thought.
Anything from the history in the past?
Probably Gary Ella. I've met him a couple of times and just had a really good chat with him, just about his journey as a player and as a young fella coming through rugby, because he's just a really down to earth kind of guy and funny. Yeah. So he brings some humour to the table.
Yep. Okay. So all sporting people.
Yep. I'm a sports geek.
That's a lot about you. Yes.
Intense
go through randoms, I don't know. Okay. What have you binged on the most during lockdown?
Oh, binged on the most. Probably doing, this is going to be really bad, and this is going to be an insight as to me as a coach. I have spent so much time watching rugby webinars, podcasts, and done planning. I have literally binged on rugby this lockdown. Just I don't really have the time to sit there and watch and read and do, I suppose, not research, but sort of analysis and have the time and a clear head to do it. So I've probably the first one just sat down and watched as many webinars and podcasts as I could on rugby, and just continuing my development. So that gives you a real insight into me as a rugby coach and as a person. I'm an all or nothing type of person.
Me too. I've watched nothing but rugby. No Netflix at all for me. Yeah, that's great. It says all about you, and I think it shows in our Zoom meetings to your technology and savvy compared to moi. Okay, last question. Who's your biggest influence been in your rugby career as a player or as a coach, and why?
Probably a couple. As a player, it was probably one of my first representative coaches in country New South Wales, so Dave Cleal. He was my first women's coach, and then he went on to coach New South Wales country as well. He just had a real passion and knowledge for the game, and was just so giving with his time and his expertise coaching the women. Like, he'd been a first grade coach and been quite successful, and then he came and coached the women, and he just absolutely loved it. And his just passion for us and the game was second to none. And it just made you want to play for him and made you want to be better. So, and just the confidence he gave you and the opportunities he gave you. So Dave was one as a player that I really looked up to. And then as a coach, I've had some really good people, and it's probably 2 people in terms of Nick Henderson, because when I started, he was coach education.
Yep.
So Nick was really supportive of helping me on my coaching journey, and Michael McGripplis from Rugby Australia, who again, another coach education, who set up a program in 2015 for women's coaches. So they've been really influential in helping me along my journey and get started, and are still a part, still a part of my journey to this day.
Nice. Well, I'll say we're very fortunate to have you at the club. But I know, is there a goal for you as well down the track? I know we've spoken about a little bit, for you to maybe move in and coach Premier grade at the club as well down the track?
Yeah, definitely. I think I want to test myself and going and to be a better coach, but also to go and coach different athletes. So coaching in men's is something I definitely want to do. In women's, we have such a wide array that we coach from, particularly in club rugby here. We've got players that have never played before, to international players that have played internationally around the world. And so you've got to have a really good skill set around how you bring all of that together. And then definitely coaching at a premier grade level within the men's scene is something that I'm keen to do. Again, it's a testing environment for me, but I think there's some things that I can give back into the players as well. And the way I do it may be different as a coach, and the journey I've taken. So I think there's definitely a desire there to coach in the men's space.
Well, look, I'll say I very much support that. But I think let's get through this COVID and get some rugby on the field next year. But I think it's something we'll definitely move towards the next couple of years. So thank you so much for joining our club, Lance. Thanks for taking some time to have a chit chat, and take care, and we'll see you on the grass.
No worries. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.